Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. When Games Workshop re-released Blood Bowl, they released it with a human team and an orc team that were colour-coded plastic and push-fit models, and that was intentionally to make the game more accessible for people who aren't necessarily involved in the hobby aspect of miniatures gaming. They subsequently released a Skaven team and a dwarf team that were also push-fit models, but they no longer had colour-coded plastic. They were just the traditional Games Workshop grey plastic. And then they released the Goblin team. And this team deviated from the push-fit design that the previous models had and went for a more traditional style of kit from Games Workshop, although they were still easy to put together monopose models. And Games Workshop have recently released the Elf team, which goes for a much more traditional Games Workshop full customization sprue. So they have gradually ramped up the difficulty in producing these models from the very easy push-fit models of the base game and the first few expansions to the elves that are available now. And I've recently seen a few people sort of complaining about the difficulty with the elf team. I don't have the elf team yet, so I'm unable to comment on that, although it obviously is a more complex sprue. I've seen that much. But I do have the Goblin team, and I have seen several people commenting that they had trouble putting together the Goblins. I haven't put together my Goblins yet, because I'm way behind with all my minis construction. So I thought I would put together a quick video showing the assembly of a couple of the miniatures from the Goblin box, just to show how it goes. I bought the full 12-man Goblin team, but there was also a small blister box available, which just had a single sprue in it, and that is because a single sprue has 4 goblins on it, and those 4 goblins could be used as part of an orc team. So anybody who was running an orc team could just buy this blister pack and get the 4 goblins on the sprue in this way without having to fork out full price for the full team. So I'm just going to look at a couple of the miniatures off of this single sprue here, and we'll see how we go. Now, when it comes to miniatures assembly, there's a few things you need. You will need your instructions that come with the models, and if we look inside, we can see that they are still only a few pieces. So this isn't the full-scale complex miniatures that Games Workshop are famous for, but we can see on the designs that they are not push-fit either. They do require glue. The glue that I will be using, my glue of choice, Citadel plastic glue isn't necessarily my glue of choice, but plastic glue is my glue of choice. I just happen to have Citadel plastic glue because it was the only type of plastic glue that was available in my local toy shop, so that's what I had to go with. So you will need a bottle of that. You can use super glue. Don't use plastic glue if you're working with plastic miniatures. It's for the best. That's a personal opinion. Other opinions may differ. I have my little knife. This is for scraping off mold lines and little nubs when you take things out of the sprue. Not for actually removing things from the sprue. Don't do that. Don't use a knife to remove things from a sprue. You'll lose the ends of your fingers. You'll probably stab yourself in the eyeball or something. It will be horrific. Don't do it. Finally, I have my snips. These are Citadel snips. These are over-engineered nonsense that cost a stupid amount of money. You don't need to buy Citadel snips if you can find a cheaper alternative. I recommend you buy the cheaper alternative. There is no reason to fork out full price for Citadel branded ones. I did because my snippers broke recently and I really needed some in a hurry, and I went to my local shop and this was all I could get. So that's what I've got. They're nice. They're a bit slippy though. They don't have any grip or anything. My last pair had sort of a rubberized grip, and these feel a little bit. I'm talking about clip. I'm not supposed to be talking about clippers. I'm supposed to be talking about assembling miniatures. The other thing I recommend you have is is a self-healing mat to protect your work surface or whatever, I would do all my stuff on one of these normally. I'm not putting mine in shot at the moment because it's messing up my autofocus. So anyway, here if we have a little look at the assembly instructions, we can see that they are numbered, and we're looking at this chap here. It'll do here, part 1, part 2, part 3, and the base. These are still on slotter bases. Most Games Workshop figures aren't on slotter bases these days, but these ones are. But anyway, so we're looking on the sprue for parts 1, parts 2, and part 3. So there's number 3, so that's the body, number 3. Okay, I've got to try and do this through a viewfinder. Not easy. All I'm doing is I've got my flat bit of the snips, and we're just going up flush to the model, snip. Flush to the model, snip. I'm actually peering over the top of my viewfinder there, so if that kind of went out of shot a little bit, I do apologise. I'm trying to hold it in shot. And there you go. You can see where I've cut it out. There's a tiny little bit there. You can scrape that off or whatever. You don't need to worry too much about the bits on the bottom because they'll be inside the base eventually. So there's little body, teeny weeny body. So yeah, there's that. And then we need part 2, part the second. Okay, well there's part 2. They're not always next to each other on the sprue, but it doesn't really matter. They've been put on the sprue in such a way as to make the most efficient use of the space. And there we go. So that's my second piece. And we need part 3 is the head. Sorry, part 1 is the head. There it is. It's only connected on one point, which is the neck. Okie dokie. So going to go in there, clip it out, and that's it. We can put this to one side for now. I've got 3 bits. Okay. Okay, so at this point you've got the 3 components removed from the sprue. Don't cut any other bits off at the moment. If there was more parts than 3 to this model, I wouldn't be cutting all of the parts off at all. I would cut off the few parts that I needed to attach together, and then once those were attached together, cut off the next section. If you cut off everything from the sprue, you're going to get totally confused. You're going to lose track of which parts are numbered as which parts. Like I say, it's easier when it's just a few parts, but with bigger kits, don't do it. Build in stages. So you've got your parts removed from the sprue, and you might have, excuse my fingers if I've got paint and things under my fingernails. I always remember to make sure that I've cleaned all the stuff from under my nails, so just ignore that. Yeah, you might have a few marks, or whatever. You can remove those with a knife. Be very careful. You just need to scrape them off. You can put your finger on the top of the knife, because if you just do that, the knife may bend up and over the plastic. The flexibility of the knife may be too great to actually get enough purchase to actually scrape away. But if you just put a little bit of pressure, not a lot of pressure, don't really force your knife, and just gently scrape off any marks, any nubs that are left, and then you're good to go with gluing. And like I say, I am using plastic glue. Before you apply any glue at all, you can do a dry fit. Okay, I'm going to put the arms on first. Now, Games Workshop miniatures are pretty good, even when they're not pegged, for being keyed. Things go one way. It's going to be very difficult to do this on a very small model. Like I say, this is my first effort at putting together something, a miniature on camera like this. I'm sort of looking half through the viewfinder and half over the top, and trying to make sure I'm in focus and trying to make sure I'm not going to stab myself in the hand or anything. It's It's quite difficult. But yes, you see there's the parts are shaped. So even though they do need to be glued together, they won't sort of push together and stay together. They are shaped so that they only go together one way. So you can see if you do a dry fit, this piece will just clip on there. And that's it. So we'll just go on like that. So I know that piece is going to fit. So I can put some glue on it. Plastic glue melts plastic. So when you're using plastic glue, don't use loads. If you slather a model with plastic glue, you're going to melt the model, you're going to lose detail, it's going to look horrible. You just want a tiny little amount. So that will do it. So now I've got my arms, got to make sure they're the right way up. Push it on. And the wonders of plastic glue. There we go. We have arms. Now, with super glue, you need to hold things for a little while for it to set. The plastic glue, you have to worry about it. It's pretty much going to hold together straight away. You can see the line where those two parts join. That's quite an ugly join for Games Workshop standards, but a little bit of liquid green stuff or something in there will hide that. Sometimes if a joint's not too bad, you don't need to worry about it. But that one, yeah, that one's a bit more visible than I would normally expect, and I'm assuming that's because of the simplification of these pieces, because they're going together in so few parts. A lot of modern Games Workshop miniatures, they layer up. So as you add more components to the model, it conceals join lines and things like that. So by the time the model's finished, you can't really see any of the joins and things. But with so few components and such a small model, obviously that's a bit more visible. The head, God, this is going to be really tricky because it's a very small head, very nicely detailed. It doesn't have a peg, but it is shaped. It's got a little ridge. It's got a point here and a ridge here. And if we look on the model, if I can get it in shot, you can see that the neck is similarly shaped. So the head will just fit on. So again, we just need to put a drop of plastic glue on there. Again, not too much because you don't want it to squish all out the sides and run everywhere. And then boom. That is a finished Goblin. Hello, mate. I am absolutely rubbish at Blood Bowl, but I'm very good at getting chucked about by trolls. That's my Mockney Goblin voice. I don't know what that's all about. You'll see I haven't put him on his base yet. The basing, excuse my voice, is always the last thing I do. I find it's easier to be able to hold models by a foot or by a slotter if they've got one, rather than trying to deal with bits once they're attached to a base, especially if they're on a larger base. So the base is always the last thing I do. But there we go. There's a Goblin. Okay, so you get the general idea, but I'll just do one more. At this point, I'm just going to be repeating myself. But we'll do this chap here, which is parts 12, 13, and 14. Just because he's got a slightly different type of arm. He's only got one arm that attaches on. So we need parts 12, 13, and 14. I need my snips, which I've put to one side. Right. Where are Okay, so there's part 12. Go ahead. You'll see when parts are attached to a sprue, they have like an angled bit. See how that angles in there, and that's kind of straight. It just makes it easier to get in here, like this. There we go. So that's part 12. We're looking for part 13. Part 13 is here. It's the arm with a spiked gauntlet. And 14 is the body. So it's this body here. Peer over my viewfinder. Okay. So there we go. You can see there's a small amount of... We can just scratch that off. Do not... don't do this. Don't sort of shave towards your thumb. You'll cut your thumb. Don't bring the knife towards you. I have heard horror stories of people getting up close, filing things off and stabbing themselves in the eye. Don't do that. Painting and assembling miniatures becomes slightly more complex if you've got a knife in your eye. It's not recommended. But yeah, just gently scrape. Sorry, my fingers are just all up in the viewfinder there because I was peering over the top and I was paying attention to what I was doing and not paying attention to what you could see. I do apologise. I am a professional. Okay, so I'm not going to worry too much about the cleanup on these because it's difficult on camera. But you get the idea. Scrape it off. If the nub is in a join, so in a bit that's going to attach to something else, just make sure it is filed down because it can stop the pieces sitting together flush, obviously, because if there's a little bit sticking out, that will happen. But anyway, these pieces are really small on camera, and I hope that this is coming out okay on camera. Like I said, this is my first attempt at doing anything like this on camera, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not very good at all this. Okay, so again, it's two parts. You've got the arm and the head, and again, you can just do a little dry fit to see how it all fits. So how does he go? He's only going to fit one way. So he's like that. He is designed to fit on like that. And then there's the arm. And again, it's shaped a certain way. You can see, I don't know if that's going to come out, but there's sort of a pointed recess and then a small bit cut out as well. So that will just sit on there like that, and it's only going to go that way. It's not going to, you can't twist it around, it only fits that way. Okay, so drop of glue in the arm. Remember, not too much because we don't want this to squirt out everywhere. Boom, one arm on. It only goes that way. You can't put it on any other way. Okay. Like I say, the head is only going to go on the one way as well. It's only going to go on that way. So drop a glue on the neck, and then again, I'm peering over the top of my viewfinder. I apologise if this is not showing up very well. Done. And that's it. He's on. He's ready for basing. And you can see, if we're nice and close, you can see where it needs a little bit of filing on that shoulder plate from where he's been cut from the sprue. But you can see no evidence of a join. We've got one, if I can get in focus, around the back. It all goes one way. And that's it. Oh, go on then, just one more. I was just packing up my video and I took another look at the instructions and I thought I might as well do one more and show you this one because it's got a separate arm and a separate leg, and it looked like one of the most complicated ones on the instructions, and I just kind of wanted to show that these aren't, just because they're not push fit, they're not as intimidating as they might seem, and with a little bit of care and patience they will go together and look lovely. So I've just snipped this guy out of the sprue and cleaned him up, and he's ready to glue together, and I was just going to do that on camera as well just to show you. So you can see he's got a body, he's got a separate arm, a separate leg and a separate head. So put that out of shot. Here's the body, and you can see he's got a shoulder plate with a recess, and the arm's going to fit up underneath that shoulder plate, and round the back he's got a section missing from round the back here. There's the arm. Oh, I thought I'd lost the arm. Right, so on the leg you can see it only goes one way. This is my dry fit, so it'll just fit like that. So, like I say, even though it's not a peg, even though it's not going to stay together without glue, it is only going to go one way. It is a monopose model. You don't have the options that some of the more advanced Games Workshop kits have. And the wonders of plastic glue. Okay, so that's on. And sorry that I went completely out of shot there because I was peering over the top again. There you go, you can see that's on, that's attached. And let's show the arm. Okay, so the arm, again, there's no peg, but you can see it's shaped a certain way. It's got a, if I can get right up in the viewfinder, it is shaped, and it will fit one specific way up under there. And that's the only way it will fit, and it will fit snugly like that. So, drop of ye old plastic glue. I've put too much glue in there. It's going to squirt out everywhere. Yep, too much glue. But there you go. It's in, it's on. It only goes the one way. Okay. Like I said, I've used a bit too much glue there, but it's not an absolute disaster. I mean, it's only really going to ruin your model if it's running everywhere. That's not going to cause any significant harm there. There you go. So, one arm, one leg. We just have the head to worry about. So, I'm doing it a bit cack-handed now to try and get it in the camera. So the head's just going to go on like that. Bit of glue. And on it goes. And that is that. And when I say that is that, this time I mean it. I am off. It's late and I've got other things to be doing, like sleeping. So, bye everyone. Don't be scared of goblins. Goblins are your friends. Especially if you're a troll. Bye-bye.